You're so funny.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited to bring to you today Mark Adams, who is a sought after strategy mentor and the best selling author of Secrets to 10Xing Your Business and Cashing Out Tax Free. I like that. In his book,
Everybody does.
he shares exactly what business owners need to do to become even more wealthy, be that increasing value and secure tax-free exits. But Mark's story goes far beyond traditional business success. So welcome, welcome, Mark. I am so happy that you're here today. So let's
Well, thank you for having me. It's an absolute privilege and an honor, especially with a fabulous introduction like that. Thank you so much.
well, you did it. Wow. So let's talk a little bit. What I didn't mention is about the turn of events that happened in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's where it all started. And I think that, um, where do you start? I guess you start in the middle and you work back, right? But um, I'd been in private equity for quite some time. And what you do in private equity when you're looking to buy a business is you try and buy it for as cheap as price as you can. Then you're going to add value to it over a 7 year period and hopefully make a big profit when you sell it. And that never really sits quite that well. Well, it doesn't sit well with me because when you know you're buying cheap and you sell high, you also know that when you did a good deal, sometimes there's an element of it being at someone else's expense, like the people that you bought the business from. Um, and it's kind of, I'm not all private equities like that, but it doesn't leave a great taste in the mouth. So I mention that because this whole thing, secret to 10xing your business and cashing out tax free, um, really came into being in 2020, 2021, because we were in the pandemic in 2020, if you remember that. It was bloody awful. And we went through that whole year of lockdown. And then as we got to the end of 2020 and we came into 2021, we were allowed out in little groups of 4 or 5 or 6 just for an hour a day. And then we were allowed out for 3 or 4 hours a day. So I find myself in Windsor, the place where the Windsor Castle is, where the Queen spent her final days and where the King now hangs out for quite a long time. Well, there's another place in Windsor, which is a big hospital there. And I rock up just for, an overdue appointment. And I'm there to get some test results. And I walk into this office, the office of my consultant. And the only similarity between him and you is that he wore glasses, not as elegant as yours, and he had a white coat, and you've got this beautiful white. It looks like a pullover cardigan, something that you're wearing there. It's the only similarity, except and so, but he's a consultant. His name's Mark as well. I want to change his name to tell you the story because if I don't change the name, it will get confusing. But I won't change the name. But as he leans, as you're in his office, you look out over this car park on the right hand side, and on the left, there's all these awards and certificates and pictures that he's built up over a 30-year career. The guy knows what he's doing. And I sit down and he doesn't say anything. And I remember running through my mind, and I don't know whether you've had to do this at the time, thinking, this doesn't sound good. At least he could say, apart from hello, Mark, come and sit down, say something, but there was just silence. And he opens up with, I'm afraid I've got bad news. Not in that tone. I'm making it much more jovial. But his bad news was I'd been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and what he was telling me was I had 6 months to live, which wasn't great. So roll forward. The plan was, look, we take out the primary, no guarantees of anything, but we take it out and see what we could do. And with my kind of cancer, they gave me a PET scan, so I lit up like a bloody Christmas tree. So they were fairly confident that the secondary, to call it stage 4. But when you're in the operating theatre and they take it out, they do a pathology report just to be sure. So they did that, and they were sure. And then I'm recovering after the operation in this theatre, big modern thing, beeping everywhere, smell of disinfectant everywhere. And he says, well, we got it, but we need to settle down and see what we can do. And of course, he wouldn't see me for another 8 or 9 weeks. And I went, and I was dazed, and I kind of remember sort of saying thank you, wasn't really paying attention, little cough. That little cough, when they released me, turned out to be the original strain of COVID. And so I got that, and I'm recovering from COVID. I'll tell you the funny thing, though, is that when you got 6 months to live, you'd give anything for another day. But then back then, we didn't have the vaccines, and COVID, all we knew, all of us around the world, were how many people died that day, how many new infections there were that day. And we had to get through the first 12 days before we knew whether we had any more days. And so I felt robbed of my 180 days, because now I'm looking at 12, like so many other tens of thousands of people around the world. Well, 28 actually, but 12 before you know where you're going. So in that window, to get to the point of where it started, I'm at home. And at home, we have our bedroom is a big white bedroom, big dresser on the left with a bathroom, door in the corner, and another view out of the window over rolling hills in this time, and the British countryside, which is a nice view as it happens. And my son would open the door every morning because he's in lockdown too, and he was only 10 at the time. His name's Thomas, and he'd say, "Hello, Dad. How are you feeling?" And then at 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, lunchtime, afternoon, tea time, bedtime, he'd just come in, and from the door, because you're in isolation, we'd just chat. And for him, it was a bit of a holiday, because when he was in lockdown, they weren't doing a lot on school education on Zoom, but he was playing Xbox all day and he was loving it. So for him, it was like fantastic. But we're chatting about stuff. And in that window of the 12 days, my day 5, 6, and 7 was pretty shit. Oh, excuse me, audience. My day was rather rough on days 5, 6, and 7. And so my breathing was getting very difficult, but I've got things in me. I'm taking all these pills, and the last thing I needed to do or wanted to do was go to hospital. But my surgery were checking in with me twice a day, because they wanted to make sure my SATs stayed above 90. And if they went below 90, get to the hospital. Well, they did, and I didn't. What I know now is, when you make decisions with your SATs below 90, you think you're absolutely, brilliant, and you know what you're doing. Turns out you're oxygen deprived, and you're making some very poor decisions, as was I. But things turned around, and I got a call from a friend of mine who said, you need to sit up, not lay down, because you've got more lung capacity when you're sitting up. You can drain your lungs when you're sitting up. And if you cast your mind back, do you remember all those images of people laying in hospitals and they're pulling all this gunk out of their ass? It's horrible. Well, you sit up, you drain it all out. So Tommy and I keep talking, but after a week, you start running out of Xbox chat, especially as he plays it and I don't. And we started talking. He just came in on the back of a call, because I'm still working, even though I'm pretty ill. And he said to me, "Oh, tell me about the call." So we were basically chatting about business. And I don't know why, but I just said to him, as we got into the conversation, we were talking about a business that we at that time were trying to buy. And he said, "How's it going?" I said, "It's just going to be another one that's quite difficult to buy." And he said, "Why is that?" I said, "Well, 9 out of 10 of those companies that you want to buy, they never get sold because they're just too expensive." He said, "Why are they too expensive?" I said, "Well, the owners need to get a certain amount of money so that they can retire or do what they want to do. But the market won't give it to them." And there's loads of good reasons for this. It's a well-known stat, too, that 9 out of 10 companies don't sell when they go to market. But the real reason as to why that is, people don't really know. Or we do, but the market doesn't really know. So he said, "Well, what do you do with the one company, Dad?" And I said, "Well, we try and buy it. Sometimes we're lucky and sometimes we're not." And he said, "What happens to the 9, Dad?" And I said, "Well, the 9 don't really go anywhere. They either can reduce the price and they can't get enough money for it, or they could take it off the market, but they end up working in those companies when they're in their 70s or their 80s because they got bills to pay." He said, "Dad," he said, "you need to be working with those companies, not the one." And to which I said, "Why?" Because he caught me by surprise. He said, "Dad, what happens if those companies have got mums and dads that get COVID and they die? And if they didn't sell those businesses, who's going to look after their families?
Mm.
Who's going to look after their families?" And in that moment, I don't know how to describe how I felt. It was a void of, here I was recovering from, I hoped, obviously I did, cancer and COVID, but I wasn't anywhere near it then. And there's all those people that could potentially not make it. And he was absolutely right. And what would their families do? What would their families do? So he said, "What?" And then his follow-up was, because he already knew that in private equity, you bought and you added value and you sold. I've been drilling in this into my boys, since they were just like 5 or 6 years old. He said, so, but I didn't know what the answer was, but I'd made him a promise that I would I would look into it because it was important to him. So time goes by, I get to March, I'm back in that same dreary consultant's office overlooking that same horrible car park, but I'm getting the results of 8 weeks have gone by and things are settling down. And I sit down, but this time he's not leaning in. So I thought, this is different. And he's just sat and in his chair, upright, looking over the top of those spectacles. And so his are round. And he just looks over the top to catch me, but he's not looking at me. But he's still got the same white coat on. I don't even think he dry cleaned it from the last time until now. And it's still the same office, the same certificates and the same drill review. And he said, how are you? And I went, I think I'm good. Why don't you tell me how I am, Mark? Well, Mark, I've got good news and bad news for you. Okay. I asked him, after what seemed like 5 minutes of silence, which was only 2 or 3 seconds, I'm sure. Okay, well, let's have the good news first. Let's go with that. He said, well, the good news is we can't find any cancer anywhere. And I went, okay. And I wanted to jump for joy and pull myself off the ceiling with happiness because I wasn't expecting that. But my immediate follow-up was, if that's the good news, what's the bad news? He said, well, the bad news is we've just got no idea why. And I went, okay, so you're telling me you can't find it, ergo I'm cured. And he said, no, I didn't say cured. Okay, you're telling me you can't find it, so I don't have it, and you don't know why, and that's the bad news. He went, yeah. I went, I'll take it. Might be bad news for you, but it certainly isn't for me. But why? But why? And so he just didn't know. So I really pressed him, and it turns out that in March 2021, in medical journals that we don't see around the world, there were about 8, 9, 10 different cases of people like me who had had a late stage terminal diagnosis of cancer, who were told they were going to die, and who had gotten COVID, and for some reason they didn't have cancer anymore. And I've been clear ever since. I mean, I go in and I get a test every bloody quarter to make sure, but I've been clear ever since. And I'm just about to come off a 5-year watch list where you're in remission, and I'm almost there. And it's so unlikely that at this late stage it would come up again. But it was kind of, so my immediate thought was, oh my God, we found a cure for COVID. We need to bottle it and get it to everybody in the world, because the vaccines were coming in, but they weren't in. And so, but it wasn't that. He thinks COVID pushed my immune system into overdrive, and that dealt with the cancers, because the immune system turns out to be one of the best things to help somebody recover from all sorts of different things. Now, I am no expert. I'm only relaying what we think and what was said. Other people since then have thought a similar thing in terms of there's a connection there somewhere. And I'm just incredibly grateful. But to roll this back, I've now got a 10-year-old boy reminding me of my promise. And so in trying to keep the promise, I realized that I can't talk to everybody. I don't have a brand. I'm not known by anyone. So I decided I'm going to write a book. And the book took me some time to write. But when the book came out, my thought was that everybody could get the book and see enough things in the book that they could implement to solve the problem. You see, the problem is the reason those companies don't sell is because too many people get to that stage in life with no knowledge at all that they might lose up to 50% of the sale price of the business, because as the money's on the way to the bank, half of it's off towards the tax man, state and federal in some cases, to maybe a broker, 8, 9, 10, 11% in some cases. Other people that want to stick their greedy little fingers in your life's work and take some of that money, which by rights should be going to you. And so owners then look at that and see it's not enough, and so they can't sell. So they have to stay, but they don't look at it and say, what can I do to grow the value of this, to get it to a point where I could have enough? And is there anything I could do to organize things in a different way that I wouldn't have to give up to half of what I sell the business for to everyone else, and I keep more of it? And that's how the secrets to 10xing your business and cashing out tax-free was born. Now, what I didn't realize is that most of our libraries at home are smarter than any of us, because they're full of books we all buy, and 80% of us don't open the covers. So I did an audible version as well, so that people could listen and not have to open the book. And 80% of those people don't listen either. But the book came out, and we're a year down the line, and it recently went to an international #1 bestseller, which I'm so very. My mother would have been so proud of that. She was an author too. She recently passed, but she never saw it. She saw it published, but she never saw it to go to #1. But it's become a bit of a mission to fulfill the promise that Tommy asked. Well, he didn't ask me to promise him. I just promised him I would. And because the son never forgets, it reminds me of Cuba Gooding Jr. in the film that he was in back in I think it was the 90s, when that black US Navy diver had everything against him, but he still shone through. And one of the things that kept him going was his son never forgetting. Different circumstances, right? I've got one, and so he reminds me all the time. So it's changed everything, because I spend so much more time now just trying to share with people that they don't have to be in that position. Now, getting out tax-free is different for everybody. It's very circumstantial, and you can't always do it. But where you can't always do it, it's often because the way that you're going to do it, legally and above board, of course, might not suit the lifestyle of that person. So you'll look to see how you can minimize it. And if anybody wants to know more about that, then just get them to, there'll be some show notes, I'm sure. Just get them to hit me up, and I'll be more than happy to try and give them an outline for free of what they might do, and we can talk about it. But the issue on the tax-free side of it is, if your business is only worth $1, the tax-free doesn't matter, because if you were paying 50% of $1, the dollar's not enough, and neither is what's left. So I often find when I'm working with businesses that we've got to do a lot to 10x the value of it. So if it's worth $1 million now, are there ways in which we could help people see what they could do to maybe get it worth to 10 million? That's more variable. Sometimes there are not, but many times there are. And if you do both hand in hand, then you can get to a position where people can have more of their life back, more of their time back, to do the things they want to do with the people they want to do it with, which is what they damn well should be doing, because they earned it. Now, it turns out that it's actually been appealing to people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, because that very same process we're sharing with 20-year-olds on how they could begin a business from wherever it is now. And at that age, it might be a startup, but in your 30s, it could be from where it is now, and move it along the path to being worth 100 million, and then organize it to cash out tax-free, take some time out, like a year, and do it again. But 20-year-olds can do this. And I've got a couple of people I'm working with doing that now, who want to get to 27, 28, maybe not with 100 million, but maybe with 30 million or 20 million or 10, which is still life-changing, cash out, and then they're going to go and help other people do the same. And that's amazing. I didn't really think it would have, solving a problem for one group has turned out to be a mission to help everybody keep more of what they deserve and stop all those greedy little fingers getting into things that they, nobody wants to not pay any tax, for sure. But when you add it all up, it's just not fair. And it took a 10-year-old son to make me see it. And now we do a lot of this, and the book is there to help people. Does that make sense? Or do you think I'm completely crazy?
No, I think you're going with purpose. That's what I think you're going with. And
Yeah.
that's always important to go with purpose, because, at the end of the day, the money will come. But as long as you operating in purpose, it's
Yeah.
that's the key. That's the key.
Yeah, I never think about the money. I always think about the outcome.
Yeah.
And so what I realized with the book is we set out everything that people could do at a very tactical level, and that's not enough. You need a bit of direction and strategy on top of that. I'm doing a version 2 now to take care of that problem, but I didn't at the time. I'm self-published. Oh, I'll tell you a funny story. When the book went live, Amazon banned it. I thought, oh my God, what have I done? So they worked with me and said, look, they thought it was copyright. No, I sent them all the copyright, and they agreed that was all fine. And they would never tell me why they banned it. And I thought about it for weeks, and I thought it's got to be the title. Maybe they just don't like the aggressive nature of the title because they think I'm attacking the IRS and I'm not. So I wrote back to them and said, look, I don't know whether it is this, but if it is, all I'm doing is taking the kinds of things that the Jeffs and the Elons and others do and making sure that everybody that has a business of a certain size knows that maybe they could do something similar as well. And they never said anything. They never told me that was the issue. They never said, no, we did it for this, that, and the other. But about a month later, they relisted the book, and I've not heard anything since. So if and I take that as a badge of honor, because if I wanted to do a marketing campaign now, I'd say the reasons why Jeff Bezos banned my book that you need to know, or something like that. But it just tells me that we're doing something right, and so, but we're doing it in a small way, and so I'm so privileged to have the opportunity to be on your show, because maybe one or two of your listeners will go, that could be interesting. And by the way, if any of your listeners want to pick this up, yeah, they can go and spend $10 on the book or whatever it is. We don't make money on that. We make about 15 cents. But if you are willing, if you're happy to have a link from me, I'll give you a link and they can just go and download a copy, a PDF version that will be delivered by email in chapters on a weekly basis. And they can do that if they want. Because it's important that, what I'm trying to do is change the way and disrupt the way that businesses are grown, valued, and sold around the world, so that these people that take the time and effort and all the risk to build a business successfully get more of the reward that I feel that they should get, and they pay their taxes, not just as much, but not as much of the tax, just not in the amounts that everybody wants. And it's not the IRS or state and federal. It's just when you add it all up and you see all those greedy little fingers trying to take somebody's life work, it's just like, really? You worked all your life to provide employment and keep communities going, and that's what you get as repayment. Now, I'm damn sure that the British government and the American government and the other governments all around the world didn't set out with this intent, but that's where we are. So I found some ways in which people may be able to help themselves keep more of it and do more of it, and they can get it all from the book. And if they want to talk to us, they can. If they want to work with us, they can. But that's not the purpose of our conversation. That's not the purpose of of making. I wouldn't be making the book available for free if I if I want you to work with me. It's not the purpose. But some people will want to, and if we've got space and it's the right thing and we can do good, then we will. But it's much more about. I've seen too many owners, spoken to too many owners that I just feel should get more of, should keep more of what they've earned, and we figured out ways in which they can do it, not just for America, but in some cases for Canada, certainly for the UK, and in most other countries, we have got ways in which people can get more of the money from the sale of their business. But it doesn't always work. We would need to look at the individual circumstance to best suggest on how that might be done.
Yes, and that's really good, because you put your blood into your business. I mean, the tears, the whole 9 yards, and then you have people that work for you. They become your responsibility. So it's a lot involved with running a business. And
absolutely,
when your days are up and you're ready to get out of Dodge, you want to get something for all that you've built. And I admire you for taking that step to help people do so, because it ain't easy running a business.
No, it isn't. It isn't. And I think, to be fair to so many owners, the first thing they do when they start a business is, have I got an idea that works? Can I make some money and pay some bills? And that may be the first 100K that they pull in, and then it goes to 500,000, and we're making a bit more money. I've got a little bit of profit now. Now we're going to 1 million. I've got a bit more. Now I've got something real and proper. And then you go to 3 million, 5 million, 10 million, and beyond. So, what I've also seen here which I wasn't expecting, is from that promise to a 10-year-old boy. I've got a 19-year-old in this program as well. I've got a couple of 20-somethings and a 19-year-old. But the 19-year-old's my son. And the thing about that, which I've never told anybody, you're the first person I'm going to tell this to. So get ready, because I don't know if I can. But when I'm coming out of the cancer and I'm recovering from COVID, the next battle to deal with was I had a he's now 19, but I had a 14 stroke 15-year-old who was doing cannabis and drugs. And in that pandemic, we couldn't get any help. There was just nobody to help because nobody could see anybody, and everybody that was available with professional help in that area was so overrun with anyone else. We had to figure everything out. And you come up to that time in the school holiday season when everybody's off for 6 or 7 weeks. You know what that's like. And so, and I've got that coming on with my middle son. And we were on first name terms with the police. They were around at our house for coffee or tea every week, working with us brilliantly in the community to keep him out of trouble because they knew he was good and they knew we were good, but they knew that he ran with a bad crowd and they were trying to help us with anything they had to keep him out of it. And no matter how much you try, you're going to slip up somewhere. The only thing I could do was get him out of the country. So we got out of the country for that whole period, the 8 weeks of the summer, and we just took off and did other things. But now, and that was the beginning of the path back for him. That was a turning point, luckily for mum and me. Now, he's just finishing up at school. He doesn't want to do university. He's one of those kids that thinks, the digital path will make him an awful lot more money than the traditional path. He's not going to be a doctor or a nurse. So that kind of a university education would be needed. But for what he likes doing in marketing and things like that, the modern economy provides an opportunity to be a digital nomad. So he came to me a couple of weeks ago. He said, Dad, he said, I want to go to Australia when I finished. He said, because he's already started working for other people as a setter and closer. And he's making great money doing that. You can do it from Australia or Thailand or Europe or anywhere because it runs from a phone. So he's really interested in that. I said, actually, you could make a bit more money if you wrote a book. He said, what would I write a book about? I said, why don't you write about your experience on what you went through with drugs and how you came back? And his answer was, oh, nobody'd be interested in that. My friends would see it. And I said, it's not for your friends. I said, it's for the mums and dads like me who are around the world are struggling with kids that were going through what you went through, and we just can't get the help and we don't know what to do to get them back. And in our case, we were frightened we were going to lose him permanently to either the jail or he'd kill himself. So for me now, and he thought about it, he would get it. So he's now going down that path using this legacy blueprint that I've developed in conjunction with the book to follow those steps. And you know what? It's a win because he won't get to 26 and make 100 million, but he might make 5. That's life-changing for that kind of person. And he already wants to come back and help other people. That's life-changing. But the absolute privilege for me is I get to walk the path with him, which is an unbelievable honor that makes this whole journey so completely worthwhile. But more importantly, in the darkest moments when I didn't think I was going to make it, my biggest worry was I had fish, but I didn't have enough fish to feed my family for the rest of their lives without me. Bad on me. What I could have been doing and what I should have done was teaching them to fish.
Yes.
And this that I'm doing with him now, with this system on the back of this book, is teaching him to fish in a way that he can do it in his 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and even beyond if he wants to, because he'll do it once or twice and share with other people how to do it and share with them some of that reward. And that for me is the most unbelievable give back that I wasn't expecting. And I'm humbled and grateful for. Now I got a 14-year-old called Thomas who started this, who was 10. He's already demanding royalties because I'm telling people about his story. And I'm thinking, where's that little sweet 10-year-old gone? It's so funny how life works out. But the whole thing about the book is to just put control back with business owners to help them see if there are ways for them to make more, to improve the value of the business, and keep more when they get to the point of passing the reins of the business to the next custodians of what it is that they've been doing. That's what it's there for. It's a privilege to be here to share the story, and thank you so much for having me and allowing me to chat with you today. I'm so grateful to you for that.
Absolutely. I'm grateful for what you've done because not many people think about it that way.
Well, I'd like to say that I'm such an amazing person that was in my plan, but I'm not. I don't. This came at me out of adversity, and it was never planned at any step. It was a promise to a 10-year-old to see what I could do, that reminded me of, and then I had to solve that problem. And then there were a bunch of other problems to solve after that, or challenges to overcome, or things to think about. And I'd love to say, yeah, I'm so great, I'm so cool, I planned all this. I had no idea what I was taking on. I had no idea how I was going to do it. I wrote the book myself. I should have got some help. There is only one spelling mistake in the book, though. I'm very proud of that. But no one's found it. I know where it is, but no one's ever found it so far. So it's one of those where you listen to these fabulous stories of how people have planned this, they've done that, they've had a challenge, but they kind of seem to have it all organized. Not the case. That's not how it goes. It was, I made a promise, I started, and then as I started, I realized I had to pivot and adapt and adapt and adapt, but I kept moving forward. And so from then until now, this is, we've gotten to this, and we have something that is worth sharing with other people. It's good enough, and continuing to be developed all the time to share with other people so that they can do some of the things or investigate some of the things that we're suggesting. Now, not everybody can do a tax-free. I can give nearly everybody a tax-free strategy, but it won't always work for you because it's a personal thing, and I've got to understand a little bit about it. So I'm providing a lot of direction. And I don't implement it because I'll make sure you get the right tax people in to set it up properly. But often I find I can guide the tax authorities on what they should be doing and how they should be setting it up for them to do it. Because some of them are very, very good. Some of them are not so good. And smaller businesses can't afford the exorbitant fees that some of these people want to charge. That's where we add a lot of value and help. But we're setting a direction of travel. So nothing that you can sue me for. I'm only trying to help. It doesn't. Some people have also. There are some people that have got it well sorted out, but very few, very few. It tends to be the thing that the bigger companies do. Well, they're not the only people that need it. It's the sub 50 million revenue, sub 75 million revenue companies that need the help the most because they've spent their life dedicating themselves to the purpose of serving their clients and their community, and they're getting screwed over. Well, excuse me, I didn't mean to say that. They're getting to a point of not being optimized in the right way, and we are determined to help them see choices that they can choose to make or not.
Yes.
Choose to take
So
or
if
not.
people want to reach out to you about the book, how do they do so?
I could, depending on how your show notes work, I could give you a QR code and then they can get everything, or I can give you a link to my link tree. If you put that up with show notes, people can get that.
Yes.
So a link tree will help them connect with me on email. It will help them. They can send me a WhatsApp from there if they want to, or they can just go and download the book if they want to.
Okay, that'll be perfect because I'm sure there's many people that's gonna see this and hear this. That's definitely going to be interested in the book.
It's only got to help one person.
Yes.
Just one. All I ask of anybody that finds the book helpful to them, that we never get to talk to, is if it helps you, please pay it forward to someone else and help them.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what it's all about. Helping each other.
Period. But if people want to grab the book, they can do that through the link tree that I'll send you. If they want to talk to me about a particular thing, I'll do that. I'll set aside some time to do half an hour chats with people because I've got lots of other things to do. If they want to do that, and I'm not going to charge people for that. It's just to point them in the right direction. And happy to help.
Okay, well, this has been definitely uplifting, Mark, and your
Thank
story
you.
is amazing. And I love talking to people that's about humanity. Always.
Thank you. And it's and again, I can't say enough times what a privilege, an honor, and an honor it is to be with you here today. Cool, that's a big. If I'd had a couple of beers, I wouldn't try saying that in a hurry. That's for sure. Even with a British accent, it would come off all funny.
I'm definitely going to get the book.
Well, I'll send you the link tree, and then you can choose. If you want to buy the book, people can. We make no money on the book, but if you want to grab a copy of it free, you can do that too. All the links that you need will be in the link tree.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank
all
you.
that you do to help people. And audience, thank you. And we're definitely going to have to do this again, Mark, especially when
I look forward to it.
when the next book comes out.
Yeah, so I've got 3 coming. So I've got a V2 of this. I've got one of the things that people have asked me to do is to write the whole cancer thing, because to a miracle recovery like that is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing you get on that is just feeling like a total imposter as to, how comes I've been lucky enough. Don't get me wrong, I'm grateful and I'm not questioning it too loudly. So I don't want anybody upstairs listening to me and saying, okay, we've changed our minds. I'm here for a purpose, is what I think.
Yes.
So there's that coming, and then there's a kids book I want to write too. So I've got a lot of things to do, as well as helping lots of businesses if I can.
Yes. And I'm so happy that we met. And I'm looking forward to all of the literature that you come out with.
Ditto. And I'm equally very, very happy that we met. And thank you so very much.
Thank you. And thank you, audience, as well.